Okay, this is Jeff at the Big Hairy Dog. This is a webinar on version 8 Retail Pro, physical inventory. So we're going to roll through, and I guess we have an agenda, but I've done this so many times, I think I can probably fly with it pretty well. All right, so there are, in a nutshell, 4 basic steps to this thing we call physical inventory, and it can really be summed up. And I like to think of it at that high level. So it's just start, count, evaluate your discrepancies or differences, whatever you want to call that, and then update. That's it. So start, count, differences, update. That's it. The whole process. It never repeats a step. They always go in the same order. So if you start twice, you'll blow away your counts. So you don't back up, you only do it in the same order every time. Now, there are a few other things that go into physical inventory, which we're not going to go deeply into. That's preparation. The store should be clean. You should have a map drawn. You should know the plan on how you're going to execute this count, right? And then the day of the count is just gathering data, right? It's just dotting the I's, crossing the T's. All right, let me just grab real quick here some notes. I have some notes that I usually use for this kind of thing, and I was trying to browse and grab that at the same time. And obviously, as my wife would tell you, I can't do 2 things at once. All right, so you guys can see that right there, right? So yes, I'm going to be bobbing back and forth between this and actually doing it. But this is in a nutshell, the basic steps here. So let's move this over out of the way for the moment. And so to start with, you guys all draw maps?
Yes. Yes.
So I don't really need to go deeply into how to draw a map or anything weird like that, okay? All right. Then if you've got your store all sectioned out and clearly identified where and how you're going to count it, right? Then we would go into tools here. We would go into more, and we would go into Retail Pro physical inventory. That's how you get in the front door, right? That's the tool. The next version, it becomes fully integrated into inventory, which I'm not sure is better or worse. All right, so it's pretty mad at me because I just dumped all that data in. We're going to just clean it real fast. And okay, and stop bugging me, man. All right, so let's try that again. Yep, now it's going to let me in because now it's my friend. All right, so real quick, you shouldn't have to do this if you've done this in the past, but I'm going to point out that options, system preferences, I got to use zones. I got to tell you, I used to be a store manager in a Marshall's in Las Vegas. It was a small $3.5 million store, but 22,000 square feet is a big space to count, right? So I got to divide it into little sections, and in my map, then each zone is a section. So I'm a big fan of using zones. So I'm going to click OK, and here's the tool. So if you're using zones and you click on physical, you should see stores and zones.
Mm-hmm.
So if we go into stores now, in our 4 steps, I'm going to tell you that most of this is going to be in the store side. Like starting, it's in store, discrepancies and update are all in the store. The only thing we do in the zone section is we do the count. All right, so we're going to go to stores, and it's got a fake one there. We're going to delete that. We're going to start this fresh. So you click new. It says where are you sorting? So I'm going to say, and I've got Yosemite's names in here with some tractor data, right? Village store. That's a beast of a store, man. 8 registers. Right. So that's step 1. You go in, you say new, you say which store, you click OK. It builds a count sheet. Now, we're going to go look at the count sheet. We're going to go deeper, even though step 1 is technically done. As soon as you say OK and it builds the sheet, it's done. But let's go look at it, right? So that's that's the count sheet, and of course, what inventory were we looking at a minute ago? I don't see any counts. I bet it was 0. New. So I can start more than one store if I want to, right? All right, so there you go. Now you can't have 2 different inventories open on the same store, right? I couldn't be doing men's apparel on store 1 and ladies' shoes on store 1, right? I'd have to either do one and the other, or I'd have to do them together. All right, so this is a good clean start. So what happens when you start? It takes your on-hand quantity over here, right? It copies it over here to your start quantity. That becomes your reconciliation point. As you add counts then, right into there, right? So if I put a 1 in there, it changes the difference to 0, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now that's not how we count, by the way, but I just wanted to demonstrate that when you start, you're short everything. You're short everything you have, right? Everything is a difference.
Yeah.
That's a good, clean start. So let's get rid of this one for the moment. I don't think we need this one. All right, so we've got an inventory. Step 1 is done. So we would back out of here and we would go to zones. And so normally what we have is a scanner. Now, if you have a scanner, and I highly recommend having a scanner, you know, we rent them. Foundry Logic scanners are really super nice. I like the Foundry Logic software, and I really can't really show it to you here really well. Suffice to say that it lets you manage multiple zones in one scanner. You can name them. You can type in what name you want. So if you have zones and you have labels on the zones and they have zone section numbers and names, you could make your zones in the scanner match the label, right? I mean,
Oh, wow.
make it easy. Super nice. Like you could scan 3 of them, and then they synchronize wirelessly. So you could just say upload that zone. I'm done with it, and you don't have to walk over there and actually drop it off. So anyway, in here we have somebody hypothetically that went out and counted some stuff, right? I guess we should probably set it up so we can mimic what it would look like if we were uploading a zone, right? So let's say we are going to take this is kind of a good thing for you to see anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly create an import file for myself so that I can clear all. I think I only want to deal with things that have a quantity, if you know what I mean.
Gotcha.
Like I could import things with zeros, but what's the point, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to grab some stuff. Okay, that's probably plenty. Okay, let's see if we can do that without losing our highlighter. Okay, now we're going to right click. I'm going to export that out to Notepad. What do we got here? We got Bubkiss. No, we got the whole thing. That's nice. Okay, perfect. So what do we got in here now? Okay, that's not really what I'm looking for. All right, so that'll work though. File, save as, let's save this as on the desktop as import. Okay, so save, and let's close this, and let's go fix it. Okay, so where the heck did that go? Oh, there it is right there. Okay, I just changed it to a CSV so I can open it here in, okay, that's not really working out well for me, is it? Let's get this out of the way. I don't really need that anymore. So let's leave it as a text file and we'll open it. We'll go the other way. Okay. And this is actually, for anybody who's like like into this kind of thing. This is actually cool stuff, but I realize it's a little boring for the rest of you guys probably, right? But anytime you export something out of RPro, it's tab delimited. So if I say to this Excel here, if I say open that file, right? And I go to the desktop and I say all files, I want all files, not all Excel files. And I find that import, well, we can't be in alphabetical order. Like, what's the deal here? Okay, there's import.txt, right? So I'm going to open it. Immediately it'll ask me, how do I bring it in here, right? So I'm going to say it's delimited, and it's delimited by the tab character, right? So I say next, it's tab delimited. You see what it's doing. So item 1 has a count of 1, item 3 or 8 has a count of 1, item 9 has a count of 1, right? So next, and actually that's a number, and the other one's a number, so I'm just going to click finish. And so it just separated my numbers for me, right? And I think for my purposes right now, yeah, I don't want to make this too complicated. I'm just going to chuck some of this here. Delete. Okay, that's nice and pretty. Let's go File, Save As, and we're going to save this as a CSV. And we're going to put it on the desktop, and we're going to call it Import CSV. Perfect. So let's save that. Yes. And close this. And no, I don't want to save it again, but thanks for asking. All right, so there's an import. The other import's right there. I'm going to right click and edit this. I want to see what's going on in here. That is not what I was trying to do, by the way. All right, I'm just going to fix this manually because I don't really want to waste too much of our time here together. You know, I'm not even sure what the heck happened to that. All right, let's just go back to this one here. Edit. Usually I'm pretty damn good in Excel, I got to say. But clearly not today, right? Okay. Okay, let's just do an edit, find and replace here, and find this here, and replace it with this here. Okay, close that. All right, pretty clean file. I'm good with this. All right, so we're all on the same page. 1, 2, 3, 3 characters in the first part of each field is the skew. The 4th character is a comma and is dead, right? Then the count starts on the 5th character and may go more than one character, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and say File, Save, and let's just double check that and make sure it's still looking good. It is. Okay, let's pop back in here. Actually, we want to do one more thing. We want to lay a little yeah, let's create a little bomb here. I'm going to put in a 0, 0, 0. I need there to be an error, right? I need there to be a bad scan, okay? So I'm going to throw a little bomb in there so we can have that waiting for us when we get in there, right? Now here in the tool, if I go back to Options, System Preferences, down here I have these import maps, right? So I'm going to come down here and say, we're going to say New at the top here actually, and we're going to say this one here will be called Import, and we're going to say starting on character 1, ending on character 3 for a length of 3, right? Our count will start on 5, we're skipping 4, and it probably will end on 5, 6, 7, 8, right, for a length of 4, right? I don't have a zone name. I don't have a sublocation. I don't have a serial number. I don't care. I do care that these here are item numbers, right? They're not UPCs. So I think we're good, actually. Let's click save. What is it we're missing here? Please enter a unique name for this map. I did. Oh, it's not. Okay, let's call this import 3. Okay, and let's go around. So physical inventory zones, that was much more convoluted than I expected. Okay, I apologize for that, guys. All right, so normally we would have people in the field, somebody would finish with their scanner. They would walk back up with the scanner, right? And we would say, okay, we're gonna create a new zone. Okay, which zone did you count, right? And so here, because we have warehouse open, it's the only store open, right? It's at the top, it's easy to find, but this could be any zone we want. We got 5 digits here in the zone name. So when you name them in your map, you got to keep in mind you only got 5, right? So if this was whatever, men's section 47, it could be like that, or whatever you want to call it, right? Now, I highly encourage you to have intelligent zone names, but realize in 8 you only have 5 digits, in 9 you have like 20 digits. It gets a lot more friendly. Down here, what I typically would put is, I'd put whatever it is. So I would say, like, who counted it? Like, let's say Jeff counted it, and it's whatever, men's pants or something, right? I mean, you want to keep the notes in there so that you kind of have a rough idea of what's going on. Anyway, you click OK, and here normally we would go to portable terminal, and we would say send the data in from the portable terminal, either PT or the old Janum, or there's symbol scanners out there. There's Dolphin scanners out there. There's the Foundry Logic scanners, the new TC20 Zebras. But we're going to say import file. And on import file, we're going to choose our map here, right? And we're going to go get that off the desktop. So we're going to go find that. It is not a data file. It is a text file. And import text. That's today. Good. We're going to click. So we're going to try and import this file. And we're going to close. Okay, so red dot's bad. Okay, red dot means you had an error. But I put an error in there, right? I mean, so we knew we would have an error. So over here on the sidebar menu, you see that it says scanned. Well, there's all the items I scanned, right? And there's the one that didn't come up with anything, right? On top. Let's back out of here. Let's go to errors. Now in the error view, what it's trying to do is it's trying to bracket the bad scan, right? So hypothetically, okay, if I had a map, right? So I got this map of the store, right? That's not a really good map of the store, but you get the idea. We got a section, right? And that section, in that section, we're scanning that section left to right, top to bottom. Follow? So we know the order of scanning, right? So if we know the order of scanning, then this item here is before it, and this item here is after the bad scan. You follow? That's why this thing prints this way. And then if you print this out, man, we got a lot of those, don't we? I'm not sure why we have this many in here. And I don't know if that's going to work. I may have to go get some designs. Yeah, no, we're going to have to go get a design. See, that's what happens when you're on a tech call right up till the time you're supposed to be on a webinar, right? And this isn't really that bad, actually. So if you guys don't have doc designs for any of this stuff, you want to contact us, right? You want to say something to somebody at one of the techs. And I pretty much have done all the doc designs for both versions, but they're up on the network, and the techs can get them. This is on my local drive, but we're going to dump them in there, right? And doc designs go into in Retail Pro 8, RPro design, doc designs, right? And then we paste them into their respective folders in there. Yes, yes. Okay, let's see if that's any better here. So we go to print. So we go into here, we go to scanned, or we go to errors. We say print, and this is the one I would want to have, the BHD zone report. So let's go to the errors first. Let's try it from over there. And preview. All right, so that's what it's supposed to do, right? It's just supposed to print the item before and the item after, and then it's supposed to print way over here on the right-hand side the import ID, right? So if you scanned a UPC code, if you scanned a barcode that's not recognized by Retail Pro, right? I need to know what it was so I can find it. Now, that being said, I am going to remind us all that we don't merchandise based on zones, right? So if I got an end cap, right, on the floor, I may have vertically blocked that so that the same item here appears all on the left-hand side, and the same item appears in the middle, and the same item on the right. These could be vertically blocked end caps with shelves. And so if it says this item here is before and this item is after, it could be on any shelf, right? I'm also going to point out that in scanning, okay, let's go back to this little notepad here. It's a different operating system, but let's go down here. I'm scanning along. I scanned an item, beep. I scanned another item, beep. I scanned another item, beep. I scanned a bad scan, but I don't know it's a bad scan at this time, right? So I keep going. Depending on what kind of scanner you have, it may or may not prompt you, right? So I keep scanning items. Okay, so if it's going to bracket, right, if it's going to show the before item and the after item in the report, which item would it show as the before? Well, the before item would be the 789, and the after item would be what? 1, 2, 3? Of course, the answer is no on that, by the way. It would show 852. And why would it show 852, Jeff? Well, because the point of a scanner is to count. Once it has this record entered, it's not going to add another entry for that record in the scanner. The scanner is just going to go, oh yeah, we got 2 of those now, right? And this record here is never going to get created. You follow? So for the scanner, that is the order of scanning. So my point is, when it says this item here is before and this item is after, that's not necessarily right next to the item, right? There is one of those before and there is one of those after, but there could be 10 other items in between there, right? So this is a guide. When you walk on the sales floor and you have this piece of paper in your hand and you're looking for that bad scan, this is telling you in that section where Jeff scanned the men's pants or whatever, right? Between this item and that item, you've got this barcode over here on the far right-hand side. Okay. Now, what do you do if you get a bad scan? If you get a bad scan, you send somebody right back to that section. The guy that just scanned it knows it the best, right? You print that error sheet out and you send him right back, and then you clear that scanner and you get that scanner into the hands of somebody else that can keep scanning somewhere else, right? Now, they're going to find one of 2 things. This is not rocket science. Either it's got a good barcode or it doesn't, right? That's it. Those are your options. So when they come back, either you're going to click edit and you're going to change this barcode, right? Either you're going to fix it or cancel, or you're going to delete it. Now, if the option is that we have to delete it, then you need to pick the item up and you need to bring it out of that section and you need to take it over to the trouble table that you already have set up as part of the normal planning of a physical inventory, right? So either it gets counted correctly or it gets moved to the trouble section. We're not holding up the whole physical inventory for one bad item. So I'm going to click yes, deletes it out of there. There are no bad items now, and everybody's good. So if we back up one layer, you see we don't have a red dot anymore. Red dot gone. Error removed. Red dot gone. Right. Then I would go into scanned, and in version 8, I'll call to your attention this field here, the record number field. Now, because I I exported these lookup numbers. They're lining up. Normally, the record number field does not line up 1, 2, 3, 4 like this. Never happens. We don't merchandise based on the item number on the item. Okay, so this field will not be in your normal layout. So if you have to go to Interface and Page Manager and go down and find it below the line here, like Description 2, and make it be above the line, you might have to do that to get record number into the screen, okay? Then you want to sort by record number. You want it to be in the order of scanning. Now, the older scanners, the PTs, they're in reverse order. They upload backwards. They upload the last item first. Who cares? As long as you know that, right? So make sure they're in order. Click print, print your zone out. And this is somewhat optional, but I kind of recommend it. We are human beings. We are gonna make mistakes, okay? So when you have a zone count like this, what I would recommend you do is you print this out and you highlight either randomly or selectively some of the items and have them double checked, right? If you don't sample these scans, you won't know who's making mistakes and who's not. Now, I seriously doubt we have enough payroll to double count the entire store. It'd be nice, it'd be wonderful, but odds aren't good that way, is it? So anyway, if they go out and they double check it and everything looks good, or they find a single mistake and they check around and they say, you know what, that's the only mistake in there. We could, if we needed to, we could click edit, right? We could say, okay, we're gonna change one of these, right? We found 3 of those. So we could go in and change that count, scan quantity to 3, right? You could say, okay, we counted 5 of these, but there really wasn't 5. There was only 3 of those, and then there was 3 of these, right? So I'm going to click save, and once it's dialed in, then we would take this thing and we would merge it. Now I like to merge them one by one. There's a couple options. You could mark the store, and then you could merge all the mark together. Not so fond of that. I like clicking merge one by one and putting the blue dot on there. So if I have a list of like 75 of these things and 30 of them have blue dots, then I know I need like 45 more double checks done before we're done, right? So I use a little blue dot as a checkbox sort of to say that this one's been not only scanned, but double checked as well. You can go either way on that. All right, so let's go take our, so it renamed our import file, right? I'm gonna change that back to text so we can play with it a little more, right? So I'm gonna run back through this a little faster and talking a little less this time. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to stop me, say something. You guys have been really quiet, and I get it. It's pretty boring stuff, but fair enough, right? All right, so I'm gonna click new. We're gonna say what the zone is. We're gonna say who scanned it. I can actually type most of the time, kind of. And we're gonna say what the item is, or what the section is. One word is enough, t-shirts, whatever, you know, something simple, right? In this case, I'm gonna go ahead and select that there. That is the right name of the file. We already browsed that earlier. We could go ahead and say import then and close. Of course, I'm getting an error. We know about the error, right? So let's go to errors. Let's say we went out and we found the item. We printed this out. We went over there and we found the problem child. We came back and we had the right corrected barcode. We could then click edit and we could say is this item here? And then save. It populated the field. We now have a real scan. So now we could go to scans. We could print that out. Now notice that it's maintained the sort of record number. I did not have to reselect that. It will remember as long as you stay in the zone side. If you go back over and check something in the store side and come back, you'll have to start that off again. So we print that out. We take that out to the field and we review whatever portion of this we feel is necessary to be sure that this is an accurate count, basically. Then they come back, they say we're good. I think, okay, that one's good. I need to merge that zone into the master count. Now, real quick here, let's just stop before we do that. Let's take one of these. Let's go scanned. Okay, so this first item has a scan quantity of 8, and it has a store physical of 8 right now, right? This is item 100, right? In this zone here, since this is a copy of the same thing, right, it's going to have the same thing, right? It's going to have a count of 8, and currently the store physical is 8 because we've only merged one of the zones. We're going to merge this zone now, and of course 8 and 8 is 16, right? So now if we go look at either zone, and we look at the store physical, it's going to have added both those together, right? So when we're counting a zone, we have horse blinders on, right? We're looking only at that zone. The item could appear in many places in the store. I don't care. All I care is what's in this fixture right here in front of me. If we count every fixture perfect, we should have a perfect count, right? That's a beautiful thing, but all right, anyway. All right, so now, step 2, right? Let's buzz back over here and talk about step 2 here for a second, if I can find it. There we go. Right, so tools, more, RPro PI zones, new, right, store, zone name, add your notes, portable scanner, upload, or import file, right? So let's buzz through this. If you've got a scanner, you have to clear the scanner. Now, not all scanners have to be cleared. The Foundry Logic ones do not. They're separate named and they're separate, so they don't have to be cleared. But PTs and JANMs and a lot of those other units, you have to clear it. If you don't clear it, let's say you scan zone 1, you upload it. You go out and scan zone 2 and you upload that without clearing, you just uploaded zone 1 twice. At that moment, you could just delete zone 1 and you'd be actually pretty easy to stay on track. But if you go too far down that path, it gets sort of really muddy, shall we say, right? Print out the good scans. Like if you have errors, correct them, obviously. Print the good scans out, double check it, and merge the zone. That's the process over and over again. We did not, but we should make a manual zone real quick. I'm going to click new, and we're going to say this is zone 3. And I'm going to say that it's a few items that we're just we're counting manually, right? So I could go to manual entry, right? And in manual entry, I got 2 options. I could type 100 and press enter. It assumes quantity 1 now, right? Or I could flip it to this mode over here, and I could say 101, enter, 5, enter. It depends on how many keystrokes you want, right? Now, if you're kind of Windows driven, you could do this here, 102, tab, 6, enter, right? But in this mode here, you could do 104, enter, 105, enter, 106, tab, 7, enter, right? So it depends on if you're like the 10 key mode, like a cache office type 10 key, fast kick on the keyboard, enter, 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 or if you want to be able to like use the tab key more like Windows. Either way, right? But you could key these in pretty fast if you have to. Or if you have to do a manual count somewhere and you just want to key one in. And then, of course, once you're done, double check that, print it out, and then merge it, right? All right, so once you've counted all the zones in the whole store, right, you've done all the way through. That's why you have a map, by the way, so we know how many zones to count, right? Then you're done with step 2, right? As soon as they're all merged, they've been added together, shall we say, then you're done with step 2. Now, in my little spreadsheet here, my little notes section here, there's this funny line sitting right here. Now, you guys are all still out there, right? I can't hear you, but I'm assuming you're all out there. I see you're still attached, so, which is fine, by the way. All right, so in physical inventory, you got to freeze both sides. You got to freeze the soft book value. You got to freeze the physical on-hand counts. So step 1 freezes the software. It freezes the book value, right? That's what step 1 does. Step 2 freezes the physical counts, okay? So once those two pieces are accomplished, I don't need to be closed anymore. I can start making sales. Once I know I've accounted for everything in the store, I can open the doors. Okay, why is that true? Down here we see a little example of what happens when we start. When we start, if we have an on-hand at 10, it copies the 10 to the start column, yes? We haven't counted anything yet because we just hit the start button, so we're short everything, right? Now, if we then subsequently count 8, then our difference goes to -2, right? Math works there for me, right? Now, when we update, this is what happens right here. Okay, when we update, the new quantity will equal the current quantity, 10, plus the difference, -2. Okay, 10 and -2 is 8, right? Ah, yeah, that matches my count. Beautiful. What if you sell 5? If you sell 5, your on-hand changes to 5, right? If we add 5 and -2, it's certainly not going to be 8, but if I had 8 and sold 5, I'd have 3, wouldn't I? So do you see that that works? So the purpose of the physical is not to find out how many you have, but in fact to find out what the variance is, whether it be an overage or a shortage. We're trying to find the variance. We're trying to find out, do I need to add some or take some away? That's what we're trying to find out. Now, what if, okay, what if I sell one before I count it? So assuming all the facts are the same, that we actually have 8, right? And we're going out to count this, but I sold one. At that moment in time, it would look like this. I'd only be able to count 7 because there wouldn't be 8 there to count, right? So I'd have a variance of 3, but the on-hand would be 9. I sold one. The on-hand would change, right? So when we update this, if it takes 9 and adds -3, I'm not going to come to 7, am I? So it's critically important that everything be counted before you open the doors, or at least you manage that process, right? So I could hypothetically, if I had a physical going, right, I could say, like, you know, here's my sales floor, right there is my stock room. So this is the stock room and this is the floor, right? Now, if I count most of the store and I'm back here on the back wall finishing up my count, I can open the doors. If somebody wants to buy something and I'm right there, I'm just going to scan it before they take it to point of sale, right? I know what's been scanned and what hasn't been scanned. And then I could continue counting in the stock room because ain't nobody shopping in the stock room anyway, right? So if I open early, if I come in early and I work and I open, you know, right around opening time or a little late, I could probably manage this process, or vice versa. I could close early, right? If I'm closing early, I'm probably starting my scan back here in the stock room, and then I'm uploading those scanners as soon as I can hit the start button, right? Which then I'm rolling the dice on. I'm probably scanning 3 zones into one scan because I can't upload them until I got a physical started to upload them too. But still, that's all manageable, right? You want to minimize your downtime. I mean, you can't cut your nose off to spite your face, right? You got to keep making sales. If that makes sense to everybody. But it's critical to know in the process that at this point here, you can open the store. You can start making sales. It's not going to impact the outcome of the physical. All right. So anyway, we got 3 zones. We counted 3 different sections, right? So then we would be able to move on to step 3, right? So step 3 is the discrepancies, right? So we need to go look at our discrepancies. So we go back to the main menu. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to throw them in there. I don't see any more questions. I'm kind of keep an eye on the little questions board. But if we go back to stores, there's a discrepancy button right here. Right, so this is showing everything that's in discrepancy. So everything I did not count, right? So I started with 1 and I counted nothing, and then it's in discrepancy, right? And down here a little bit, I counted a bunch of these other ones right in here, right? So here you see I started with 2, I counted 9. So we're over a little bit, right? So either way, so let's go up to the top and let's say print, and we've got a number of different designs that we've made over the years. I like this one. If you're a dress shop, ladies like dress shop, you probably want to use this one here. You're probably more about the vendor and the designer than you are about the department. But I'm going to start with the department one, and I'm going to say preview. And so what this does is it takes all of our items and it shows, let's bump this up a little bit, each department. Now this is going by master department. I could change that, but then it subtotals here and shows you the start, total scan, total difference by each department. I mean, we got to go out and check these, right? So earlier on in the zone section, we had horse blinders on. We were counting only one section. But now, if that item appeared on the sales floor, it was on display up front, and it's also in the stock room. It's in 3 different zones. Now we're looking at the total piece count, right? Now we're looking at the whole thing, everything we counted, right? So here we says on item 130 that we started with 1, we counted 2, we are over by 1. So I would then take this out, divide this up, you take that department, you take this department, right? And go fix these. Well, identify if they're real or not. If they're not real, then fix them. Now, with version 8, again, like we did earlier, we can fix these. Like I could click in here and I could just say, I want to make that be 10. Now, pros and cons there. It's fast. It's very, very gratifying to just fix the error. And let's face it, most of us do it that way. That's just how it gets played. You could go enter a new zone. You could enter a new zone and you could have the zone modified, or you could find it in the zones and you could modify the zones. And some people prefer to do that. Now, if you go the zone route, you leave an audit trail. If you edit it directly, you do not leave an audit trail. At the end of the day, as long as it's right, I don't think we care, right? But okay, so I want to grab one more thing too. So let's go grab. That's not what I want. Earlier when I grabbed that design, I did not grab something that I did want to grab. That's kind of handy and should be right in here. This one right here. Copy. So as part of the paste, yes, okay. So let's say that we printed the discrepancy report, and let's say we had a really odd count. Like what I'm thinking of actually is an item that we a customer called in on. They had 3 of these. They were coats. They were jackets. This is like Alaska. They got a rounder with all jackets. They got 3 of these jackets on the rounder. The zone says count of 3. They look at the discrepancy report. It says they counted 63. And they can't figure out where the other 60 are. They can't figure out why it says 63. Okay. In that scenario, what you can do is you can go back to the zone side, go into inventory, and what you'd want to do is you'd want to filtered view to the item in question. I'm going to pick on item 100 because we were picking on that earlier, and I think that'll be a good example of an item, right, to play with. So let's grab item 100 to item 100. There's our item. Let's go over here to item zone report. Now, if you don't have this design here that I just loaded, by the way, then I don't think this comes with the default package, so you'd have to get this from me. I think, as far as I know, I'm the only one that's ever designed this. It's really cool, though. I don't know why it's not more widely in use. I was kind of really into boxes at the time, by the way. Sorry about that. But you see the item at the top, and then you see the 3 zones that it appears in beneath it, right? And you can see that M0047 had 8, Zone 2 had 8, and Zone 3 had 1. So this works backwards from the item to the zones, right? Now, if you don't filter this, I'm just going to warn you, I don't have that much in here. So it's not going to be that bad for me. But in real life, this would be 1,000 pages, right? Showing every item and every zone every item was scanned in would be enormous. But it's a super handy trick. Again, if you don't have our doc designs, any tech can give them to you. I can email them to you. My email, I guess I should just type that on here in case you want to email me, right? JEFFK@BigHairyDog.com, right? So if you email me and say I need some V8 doc designs, I could easily send them to you. No big deal. JeffK@BigHairyDog.com, right? That's my email. All right, so step 3, we go into the storage section. We look at the discrepancies. We print them out. We attack them. We confirm that they're real, or we fix them. That's it, right? That's step 3. All right, so then once we've fixed all the errors there are to fix, right? So I'm gonna fix a few of these here. We'll just fix a few just so we say we did, right? I mean, it's super easy to fix if you're going to use this editing method, right? All right, so save, boom. I fixes all of them I could find. And so I'm going to go ahead and say we're done. So if we're done, we would then go to update. Workstation 1 is locked. That's true. You can't update while you're inside RPro. So let's get the heck out of here. It is pretty tolerant on the network, but it's not tolerant at the workstation level. So here then we would say update, and there's one screen that definitely steers you wrong on this, really way wrong. So I'm going to warn you about that when we get there. So we only have one physical, store 0, that's open right now, right? So we check that off and we click next. Okay, this is the screen that's screwball. Okay, and hopefully you guys notice what's screwball. There's only one damn switch on here, right? All right, so if I start with 1 and I don't count any, then that item has no count, right? That means it does not have a quantity. So if I update only items with a physical count, only items with a quantity, it's not going to get updated. It's not going to get reset to 0. So if I didn't count any, it's because I don't have any. And it's got to go to 0, right? We got to update all items. Absolutely have to update all items. So anyway, click next, reason code. So nice, I don't have any reason codes. Kind of makes sense. I've been hacking this copy of RPro. Usually there's a nice drop-down menu. Usually it's physical. Could be PI 2020. Could be any reason code you want. But this is going to be the reason code that writes to the adjustment memos to get created when we adjust the inventory on hand. So these are fully reportable. You're going to want to be consistent with your reason code from year to year. Like I would want it to be probably physical. And then if I run a report over like 2 years and I say, look for only things that have a reason code of physical, right? Then I can see my adjustments and I can add them up and I can see which departments are doing worse, right? So we would click next, and then it says finish. We click finish. There's a filter. So I always clear all on the filter. Now the filter would be used for a cycle inventory. In this case, we're not doing a cycle inventory. We're doing a full-blown inventory. So I would clear all and click OK. Now, if I was doing a cycle inventory, if I was only counting whatever, men's pants, right, then I would be filtering to that department up here, and I would only be affecting that department. Does that make sense? So I'm going to click OK, and it's going to go about updating that physical inventory. Right, so store 1 has been updated, or store 0 in this case. It clears the physical, right? Let's back out of here. Let's take a look at what happened. So we'll leave that right there. We're going to need that in a minute. If I come out here to the main menu and I go to adjustments, memos, I can see that 4 memos were created today because only 900 items can exist on a physical inventory adjustment, right, on a memo. So it put the first 900 on the first document, then it spilled over, kept going, and then there was another 794 on the last document, right? So I could, if I needed to, give these, print these, give them to the accountant, right? I could also run reports on them. So now let's pop back over here. Let's say that I screwed up and I forgot to count something and or I want to do over. I could go in here to the physical tool. I mean, the physical's gone, right? But it's not gone. It's in an archived. So in here, I can go and find anything that we did. So this one right here, right? And if I wanted to, I could unarchive this. Now, if you unarchive it and it created 4 memos to update it, it's going to create 4 more memos in reverse to unupdate it, right? No big deal. I mean, you know, you got a negative 10,000 or whatever, and then you create a positive 10,000, and then you fix it all up and you create a negative 11,000. The first 2 wipe each other out, right? They wash in the reports. So it's not that big a deal. If you have to unarchive it, unarchive it. Now, if you update it for quantities only, the solution would be unarchive it and re-update it for all items, right? That would be the fast, easy way to fix that problem, right? Now, I didn't even know I had reports open. Nice. This is not the right reports. That'd be way too easy, wouldn't it? Okay, never mind. I was excited there for a minute. It's the little things in life to make you excited, isn't it? Okay. Quantity adjustment changes, right? Looks like I might have been here before. So let's try this here. Let's see, print. Oh, really? Oh, nice. I guess I could wing it. All right. Normally, I would go out and put that into system preferences, and I would want that physical inventory reason code to be in my system preferences, and we can go look at that if we need to here, right? In this case, for today, I only have those 4 memos, right? That's it. That's all I got. In real life, this would probably span multiple days. Like I probably would do my physical on Monday, say, and then I might make corrections on Tuesday and Wednesday by the same reason code. And at some point, I would want to summarize up the results, right? So what I've done here in this report, and I could show you how to build this if we want to, is that I have sorted it by department code, reading the memo data, and then I ranked it in reverse, right? So I'm showing the department that had the biggest shortage on top. And as it goes through the report, eventually, it will get to the overages, right, at the very bottom. See here's some overages, and it's saying that we're over a little bit. But it's always a few fringe items that are over. It's always shortage that's the bigger one here, right? So when I was in retail, we were responsible for knowing our top 10 shrinkage departments. And I found that it gave you good visibility into what's going on. I found weird things. I found people that were stealing leaded crystal tumblers. I would have never been clued in had the leaded crystal department not hit the top 10 in shrink. So it took me a while to figure out what they were doing too. They were taking the generic ones out and putting the really expensive Waterford crystal in like the 6-pack, and they were just buying the whole box for $10. You know, I would never have guessed that. So we were alerted by the fact that the high shrink in that department. And then we had to go make shrink plan and try and figure out what's going on, right? So if you can build reports on the department level, you can build reports on the item level, you can build reports at any level you want, right? So if you had a department that was high, you could build a report at the item level or style level to see which offending items are most at risk and see if it's a mistake in receiving or a mistake in transferring or a mistake at point of sale or if it's just theft. I mean, it could be either. Mostly it's mistakes. It's probably 70% mistakes. So, but that's the piece that in the physical inventory process that everybody seems to miss, shall we say? Like they do the whole thing and they get it counted and they get the results in, and that's all good. But speaking of results, let's pop back in here. I looked at the difference report earlier, but we did not ever do the final on that. So let's go into archive now. In archive, I should be able to go into any physical inventory, including the one we just did, right? And I should be able to go into inventory, and I should be able to print out anything that I could have printed out while it was active. I could print out now, right? So this design here, this department one here, let's go ahead and preview that again. Now, this is printing a lot of items. In fact, it might be printing too many items, right? And of course, I just realized that as I looked up here. And we got a bunch of blanks here, right? So I'm going to cancel this job real quick, and I'm going to go over to filtered view, and I'm going to clear my filter, and I'm going to point to the bottom of the screen. There's a special little dude in here in the physical inventory module that lets you exclude 0 items. So if it's got a 0 start, if it's got a 0 count, if it's got a 0 difference and a 0 on hand, then it's not part of this physical, is it? So blank rows would qualify, by the way. So if we filter to just the items that are in play, shall we say, right, then go back and reprint that again, it's going to take a little bit less time, and it's going to be a lot less pages, right? And I'm not going to have to wade through garbage in the print job. Now, well, the important thing here for us to look at isn't so much the report. It looks pretty much like it did before. It breaks out by department code, right? But the last page, let's get to 125 here. It's probably better. All right. The last page does this little summary thing here. So what's going on here, the top section here, I'm adding together your mistakes. I'm saying your shortages was 21,000 pieces short, 21.3, almost 21.4. Extra, we had 324. So together, it's 21,700, right? Because an overage is no better than a shortage. It's an inventory control mistake, right? Now, at the bottom, though, we started at 21,497. We counted 443. We are short 21,054, right? So down here, they wash each other a little bit. But then there's your shortage in cost dollars and price dollars, right? Now, I'm guessing everybody knows how to measure shrinkage. Just in case you don't, I was in retail. I worked in both high shrink stores and low shrink stores. But your shrinkage, if I count the inventory once a year, okay, and my shortage here, which is showing at 105,288, it looks like 268. It's hard to see. My resolution's off since I set my resolution down. Anyway, I would take that number there and divide into that at cost the yearly sales, right? So the sales at cost, I would divide into that number and find out what penetration, what percentage it goes into, right? Because, I mean, I was a $3.5 million store when I was a store manager in Marshalls in Las Vegas. But at any given moment, when I counted my store, I had like 700, 800,000 on hand. You know, to make $3.5 million, you got to pump a lot of merchandise through the store, right? So you don't measure it on the current on hand, you measure it on the yearly volume at either cost or price, apples to apples, right? But that's how you would measure your shrink, right? Okay. I think I pretty much nailed down the whole process, start to finish. Not really seeing much here I've left off. Do you guys have any other questions about physical, or is there any scenarios that I could go over a little deeper? Are you guys still awake? Just checking.
We're still here. We're good though.
All right. Does everything make sense though? I mean, it's really, it's a beautiful thing. If you're well prepped and you've got all your sections, it's a beautiful thing to count the store down quickly and accurately.
It's been a really good refresher for us.
Yes, it's always good to get a refresher, and that's why we do these. We do like 4 of these a year just because we really feel like people need to have opportunity to get in here. And actually, V8 and V9 are so similar that you could probably attend either one. And if you knew your version, you'd be fine.
Oh yeah, yeah. We've been on version 8, going to version 9 here with you guys pretty soon. But we've for the past 3 years pulled up just a YouTube video from like 2016 on version 8 physical inventory, and that's been our refresher every year. So
yeah, that totally works. In fact, this one's being recorded. This one will be up there too. So we do them all that way because that's how it works. But in 9, just so to preview of things to come, right? You go into inventory, regular old inventory, and that's probably as far as we're going to go on a V8 one. But you see, physical inventory is right here.
Mm-hmm.
So your stores, your zones, it's all there. I mean, it's just now part of. The only really difference is that you use the filtered view in inventory instead of using the filtered view in a separate tool, right?
Okay.
Other than that, it's roughly exactly the same. There's a few other little like minor differences in there. Like when we uploaded, we created a zone in V8. Like we went out and said the store, and we give it a name, whatever, a zone 1, right? And then in V8, it immediately prompted us to upload, right? In V9, it doesn't. In V9, you have to actually go into the scan section and ask it to upload. So what? 2 extra mouse clicks, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's roughly the exact same thing. Here's your same import screen, portable device, import manual, right? All the same. So it's roughly all exactly the same. I like the structure. And I don't know if you were ever on version 7 or 6 or 5 or any of those older versions, but it was a little like a spaghetti, like physical, you know what I mean? You could kind of do it in any order, in any way. And that led to a lot of mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we will be reaching out to get some of those reports because that's something that we have not been able to use in the past. We just have to import our inventory to Excel and do it all on our own.
Oh, no. So let's just take this here. We can do at least one of these. If you got another couple minutes, we got another 50 minutes before my time expires. So if we were going to play though, I would go out here and I would copy one of these, right? And I would give it a new name, adjustments, PI. Let's say PI. I'll say vendor code, BC, air ranked. All right, so we're going to focus on the vendor code. Now, I could have just copied the department code easy, but I'd rather work on it from scratch so that we get a little bit more information here, right? So sort is drill down, sort is level of detail, sort is not necessarily alphabetizing because this report is not going to be alphabetical. It's going to be by value. It's going to be ranked, right?
Right.
But the object being ranked is defined by the sort, right? So for me, that object would be, now what's the difference between doing vendor code versus vendor name?
The code is the short.
It is, but more than that, the code is in the data. The code is on the item. The code is written to everything. The only place vendor name exists is in the vendor database. The code, vendor code exists in your history file, in your inventory file. It exists everywhere. So for me, that's the pure value, right? It doesn't have to be translated. It doesn't have to take the vendor name, go out to the vendor database, translate it to vendor code, bring it back, and try and organize it.
Okay.
So that's a biggie for me. And in layout, then we would chuck, well, actually, we probably would keep vendor name. I mean, I'm going to have vendor code there, of course, also. But now, I don't really care about quantity, the starting quantity, and I don't care about PO merchandise. Well, I'm on the wrong kind of report here. What the hell is that? Okay. If if I edited the right one, it would really help a lot, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Hey man, your standard ID10T, right? You guys know what an ID10T is? Somebody does. Right. So we get vendor code again. So my level of detail in this case is the one field, is vendor code. That's all, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's all I care about. Okay, vendor code's already in there, nicely done. Okay, I don't care about the memo number. I don't care about the item number, the department code, the description one, the size. Don't care about the associate. Reason code, I don't know. Maybe I care, maybe I don't. In the layout, and I could put it up here. It should be all the same, right? The store should be not really that needed, but we could put that in here. I don't care about the old quantity. I don't care about the adjusted quantity, the final. I just care about the difference. But I also care about the difference in
The cost, yeah.
Yeah, cost and price, right? So the difference in the extended cost difference, and there should be an extended price difference right there. And not so much on price, but if you want to do a shrink present on retail, then you got to have this,
Mm-hmm.
right? So now my sort level is that, my layout is that. Now in ranking, I would want to rank it by probably cost dollars, I think in reverse. And then, that could be the tiebreaker, right?
Mm-hmm.
The odds of losing the exact same amount to the penny is pretty low, but it could happen, I guess. So, it's good to have a tiebreaker. Save. Now, the basic report is built, okay? But what I would want to do is I would want to go over to filters, and I would want to take my adjustment quantity filter and copy of this, and then I would want to call this PI, whatever, physical inventory, right, whatever, right? And what I'm probably going to need to do here, because I just realized I'm about to run into a wall that's going to kind of tick me off. Good. It's really good that I got that automatic log out turned on. That's so exciting. Right. So in adjustments, reason codes, I really need to have this one predefined, right? I mean, if I'm going to select the same reason code and have consistency every year, it needs to be predefined and not keyed on the fly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which then feeds into reports. So let's go to summaries. Let's go back to filters. Let's find my new filter. Let's click on edit. Let's go to elements, criteria, excuse me. Let's go to reason codes. Let's select physical so I can check it off permanently and save it, right? Now my physical inventory filter is created, right? I'm going to go back to reports. I'm going to find that report, which is right in this neighborhood. And there it is. I'm going to go to edit. Now I'm debating in my head, wow, what happened to this thing? Did we not save it? No, that's saved. This is weird. I guess I missed that. Okay, so store is in there, reason code's in there. So maybe in the sort, I would add store here in case I forget to filter it, right? Well, I don't know, would I? That's a good question. Maybe I wouldn't. So let me throw this at you. What if all my stores do physical at the same time? Would I ever want to run this on the whole company? I think I might. Like I might want to know the company's shrinkage in their top 10 versus the store shrinkage in their top 10, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think I take that back. I think I would leave it just like that without the store in there. So then if I run this, if I click print, okay, I probably should go to options and give it a default date range that makes sense, right? For me, the default date range would be start like duration 31, start 30, you go. So usually you would have analyzed the physical results within 30 days, I'm guessing, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to want to grab our filter, right? Like I don't want to have to type in the physical thing every time. So let's go save and let's go print now and let's try it. So it's got a date range. It's got the filter. The filter already has physical in it. I don't need to do anything. I could optionally filter to a store, right? And I could say, we know that it's this one here. But we could also say, no, I want to see all 3 stores. Of course, we only have 1 store data, but you know where I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so now we see the same report that we did earlier with the highest loss by whatever vendor that is on top, right?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently we have a number of items with no vendor. That's interesting. Now let's toy with that. Let's see if that's an error in the data. Do you want to save this? No. Or it's probably a blank. But the way we would find out is we would go into non-repeat mode and set that to no, right? You guys all know what non-repeat mode does?
No.
Well, you're about to find out. So a minute ago, the word physical was not repeating. Now it is repeating. So it creates an outline format. Now, my fear was, let me zoom this in a little more, that this vendor, right, the second vendor here, was actually duplicated on the next line and it was being suppressed, like the word physical was being suppressed. But that's really, there's just no vendor on those items, right?
Yes,
That's just items without a vendor is what that is. So non-repeat mode is great. I like non-repeat mode for reading. But if you're going to export to Excel, you got to have it turned off. Now, did you have something else you wanted to add? I think I just bowled right over you.
No, you're fine.
Excellent. All right. So in this case here, knowing what I know now, I probably don't care about that physical inventory thing, right? So I probably would actually go back and I would turn this back off or on. I would say, yes, I don't want that physical to repeat all the way down the page because it's just easier to read like that. And obviously, if we set our level of detail on this report at the style level, at department, vendor, and description 1 would be the style level, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then it would then rank by the style and show me which styles. And if I did apparel, that would be great. I could tell if this hoodie or that fleece was the higher shrink item, regardless of size and color, right? Or of course, I could go all the way down to the item level. So anyway, that's that. Now, if I wanted to, I could also, I'm going to pop back into, let's get out of here. And I don't think I would do this. If I did do this, right here, the record limit, like I could say 10, top 10, right? But I think I would run it both ways. I'd run it with the record limit and without, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, yes, officially we might want to know the top 10, but I think I want to know the rest of the stuff and where everybody else falls, right?
Yep.
But I mean, when I was in retail, they held our feet to the fire on the top 10. So we had to actually sit down and write a shrink plan on all top 10 departments and try and reduce the shrink in those departments. And some of them you were never going to win, you know. In Marshalls, the jewelry spinners, you know, the little accessory jewelry spinners, they're always in the top 10. And there isn't much you can do. You can move them up next to the register, but, you know, the cashiers ain't watching. You know, I mean, I don't know what you do on that one, right? But a weird one like leaded crystal pops up, you can do something.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, that's the concept that I try and pass along to everybody is that, you know, there's a whole lot you can do in reporting on that data. That's another data, just like sales. It's another type of data. You can beat the hell out of it in analysis and really get in there and see what's going on. And sometimes you find something and sometimes you don't, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, any other questions or anything else I can show you?
I think we're good, man.
I think we are.
All right, well, then I'm going to tell you guys to have a good rest of your day. Hopefully it's a nice dry one. It's raining here, so.
It's cold this way. We got a little cold snap this weekend, so we're chilling out a little bit.
Nice. Well, it's that time of year. I mean, you know, kind of got to expect rain or cold. One or the other, right? All right, then. You guys have a good one.
Thanks,
awesome, Jeff. We appreciate you, brother. Have a good one.
You too. All right. Bye-bye.